Hello, hello. Welcome for another episode of the Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast. Hey, it's your host with the most, your main man, Darren M. Palmer. Excited to be with you for this fantastic episode where I got a game changer in the building today. My good man, Larry Kaufman, is in the building. Say hello to the people, Larry, if you don't mind.
Hello, people. Hello, Darren. Great to be here.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we wanted to have Larry on here. He does, quite a bit of things or whatnot in his industry. He's an author. He's impact. He's actually just shared that he, will be willing to let me see that tie that he has or whatnot. He's just a giving type of person. But Larry, I want them to hear from you, if you don't mind, before we start talking about the books and all that. The information will be in the show notes. But if you don't mind, share with our audience, what do you do?
What do I do? So I tell people I'm a giver and connector first. I like living my life to help other people. I'm also an international speaker and trainer on LinkedIn for the past 12 years and counting. And authored my book last year, Darren. And my day job is with a division of a $22 billion company. So I lead the Midwest. I run sales and operations for a company called Jefferson Wells, and it's a professional services firm helping companies address their emerging challenges in a variety of areas, from accounting, finance, tax, risk, and compliance. And so that's how I lead my week in life.
Awesome, awesome. Now, Larry, when I hear you share that, and I know those who are tuned into this particular show, and you've been able to be an author, but I want you just to go a little bit deeper into this, because I know some of them thinking like, how in the world is this guy pulling all this off? Is he an octopus? Do he have more arms that we're not seeing on the camera? Because I'm having an issue writing my book, and I don't have anywhere close to responsibility as Larry has, and he was still able to get it done. So if you don't mind, just share with the audience the name of your book, and also why did you choose that as your first book?
So the name of my book is The NCG Factor. N is in networking, C is connecting, and G is in giving. And so I chose that really the full title is The NCG Factor. It's a formula for building life-changing relationships, from college all the way through retirement. So I chose that book and title and the content surrounding it because I wanted to help people be better networkers, better connectors, better givers, and kind of rewrite their legacy. And so, this has been something that I wanted to do for a long time, and I needed a little motivation, got a little push from someone in my household that's a little bit shorter than me, that I've been around with, for 31 years. So my wife pressed me to do something I've wanted to do for a long time.
And you know what, Larry, when you share that, and I appreciate you, just being open and transparent for us, what you just gave with those nuggets. If for those who are listening, you can hear with Larry that he has a heart of service. And so I don't want us to just get so caught up in the tangible steps on how to do a book that we don't see the why. And yes, here Darren goes with the woo-woo again. But if you are not right internally, externally is not going to show up the right way, how you show up in the marketplace. Because sooner or later, you can fake it or whatnot all day long, but people will start seeing what your true motives are. And Larry has shared with us of his heart to connect, and he wrote from that space. Yes, he had someone that was a little bit shorter or whatnot in stature that was able to encourage him, but at the same time, it was something that she knew as well that he could benefit from, others could benefit from, because there's so many in online right now, or in the industry, on LinkedIn and other places, that they're not actually caring about the people that they're saying that they're looking at serving. And if you want to build real relationships, look at the nugget that Larry shared with us too. It wasn't, oh, let me just meet you at this networking event and let's swap cars real quick, and let me see if you're going to do something with me. And if you don't do anything with me, then I'll never talk to you another day in my life or whatnot. That type of mentality. You heard building rapport, but building what's the LTV, the lifetime value of these relationships, and the law of reciprocity would take place itself or whatnot for years to come. And you heard the L word far as legacy. And when it comes to the legacy part and the relationships, Larry, I know I'm going here because I got the expert on here, so I got to take advantage of this opportunity. What was the trigger for you to understand the importance of lasting, healthy relationships? Because I can tell that that's imperative for us how you do business. So what was that trigger for you?
Well, I looked at, personal life, I looked at business life, and it just seems a lot of us live a transactional life, right? It's not that we're bad parents and spouses and leaders, we work very hard, but I was thinking, are we really working hard to build relationships? And, time of this interview, we're still in this pandemic, and we're having more of this virtual time. What a great time to really build relationships. And so for me, it was important through this book to articulate the importance of not to be so transactional. Take the time to say, Darren, how are you doing? You've got this great business. You're helping people expedite the book writing process, into a 30-day process, and which is awesome. I wish I'd met you earlier. I did mine in 4 months, but 30 days would have been even better. So, but I think building relationships, getting to know people, and how to help people professionally, personally, and giving them the ability to reach out and build relationships the right way, especially during this pandemic.
You know, Larry, when I hear you sharing that information, I want those to even understand about this interview that we're doing right now. It was because of a connection, because of a relationship with a mutual friend that me and Larry were able to connect. And I call it the beget system, because one door opens another door. And so typically with appreciating clients or appreciating relationships, you'll find that if you have a great relationship with one person, typically they have others who are great as well, or who are wonderful to be connected with. So we have the privilege and the honor to be able to have Mr. Kaufman as our guest today because of these types of relationships or whatnot, people who are operating in service and want to see others win. And then a byproduct of that is you win. I still believe in the old Zig Ziglar quote of, if you help enough people get what they want in life, you can get everything that you want in life as well. And in this rat race type of or durable mentality that some of us have of thinking that, well, I got to beat up on the other person or I got to belittle someone to get ahead, is not true. So individuals like Larry, I'm glad that we're able to have him on today to let us know that it's a better way. It's a more productive way. It's a way that you can still sleep at night and you don't have to come in last. I know how they say, good guys, good gals come in last. That's untrue. That's a false. And we got to make sure that we check the narrative that we're telling ourselves by some of the stuff that we're watching online or watching on some of these shows. Is not a representation of lasting relationships. And individuals like Larry with his book and what he's been able to create is allowing for you to be recession proof, because people don't forget how you treat them. And Larry, a little bit about the book, and you shared about the 4-month process. It's a perfect segue for us to talk about how were you productive? How did you find time to create content for this book? Was it blocked off time? Was it a ghostwriter? Share with us some of the strategies that you used to be able to create the content for the book that you got done in 4 months.
Well, thank you. And I know you mentioned being an octopus. So sometimes, look, people are out there, they're getting their MBAs. Sometimes I don't know how they do that with a family and a full-time job. And then writing a book, it is daunting, and so how do you create some efficiency in doing so? And so first, what I did though, is I interviewed a lot of people that, truly did it themselves. And I would say, how long did it take? And they're like, well, it's a year or 2 years. I'm like, oh my God, if I'm going to do something, I got to do it efficiently. But if it drags on, I'm just going to get bored and it's not going to be productive and a good use of my time. So I did interview all types of people, and I found this incredible entrepreneur here in Chicago where I reside. And she was just fantastic. And I don't know about you, I'm a delegator. I'm an outsourcer. I fix things around the house by calling people. My wife hates it, but I admit I'm not handy. And so if I'm going to do a project, I've got to outsource, Darren. So I outsourced, but I had a plan and I had a process and we worked together and I knew from the content what I wanted to write. It's been something that's been building all this knowledge I wanted to share. And so I had to get this book out as my legacy. So what I did, I worked with this firm and you think there's so many components, this, Darren, so many components to the process of writing a book, what's going to be in it, to the layout, the design of the cover, everything. Amazon, oh my God, I can't do that stuff. So I did have this book in my own words, but a lot may not know this, but the firm I worked with here had a ghostwriter. But I always thought a ghostwriter was, you tell them the concept and they go, okay, I'll write it up. You can proof it and tell me what you think. And I didn't want to do it. It had to be in my words. So we worked together with a process I would be comfortable with. And I said, look, I do a lot of driving when we could do that, right? And so we would block off time, and I had an outline of my chapter. So, okay, the chapter is going to be about takers never win. And she would interview me, and she would almost verbatim take everything that I answered, and she'd feed it back to me, and we'd go back and forth. So it was all my words. She was great at capturing everything. And then I'd be, during the day, I'd have another idea, and I'd send her a recorded note. And then I'd see her version of what we talked about, which was almost perfect, dead on. And I'd be like, oh, I forgot to talk about this. And I'd write 4 more pages. So that expedited the process. We had a timeline to complete. We had scheduled time to talk, and it made it a 4-month process. And it was awesome. I wasn't bored, and it was a partnership. How's that?
That's good like Campbell soup, Larry. I'm telling you, man. Hey, when I'm listening to you share those details, that's the strategy, people. And for those who are looking at getting that book done, it's great that you got something on your heart. It's great that you always had a dream of being an author. But what Larry just shared with us there was, here are tangible steps how to get this done. You got to get a goal. You got to have a goal, but also it's the surroundings, getting around experts. Delegating doesn't mean that you're weak. You're able to be that octopus, so to speak, by understanding the power of getting those who do what they do well. We just had an issue at our office or whatnot with the refrigerator. I could have got down and tried to watch YouTube videos knowing I didn't know what I was doing, or I could just call a guy who came on in, who had the resources, who had the tools, he got it done, wrote a check, and we're back operating and the refrigerator is working without any problems. So when it comes to the book process, some of us are having issues because we're not doing what Larry did. We're not willing to interview people. Look at these steps. So now he's getting wise counsel. How long did it take? So now he's able to pivot and make adjustments and see what's realistic and what's industry standards for this process, because he's never been an author before at that particular time. So why not hear from others who actually took the journey to being an author? What did they learn? What did they glean from the process? And then he didn't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. He was able to say, you know what, that 18-month or 3 years, a year, I want to reduce that a little bit. So now he was able to articulate when he got with the firm that he needed to get with, what was the realistic goal. Let's set this thing in motion or whatnot with a timeline. And then you found people that you were able to work with, and they knew what Larry needed because he wanted to have his voice be a part of it. Some people don't care about their voice being a part of it. So you have to get crystal clear. And I love this saying that a mentor shared with me of, wherever you have clarity of vision, you have acceleration to the known goal. And that's what Larry was able to do. He had clarity of vision, so it allowed for him to be able to have acceleration to the known goal, which expedited the process while he was able to get his done in 4 months instead of 4 years. And also was able to save when it comes to investing as well, because I've had others that I've interviewed that share with us, Larry, that, wow, it took me 2 or 3 years or 5 or 7 years. We wasted so much far as funds when we should have just went to someone who could have got it done for us and helped us instead of guessing what we need to do. So Larry, let's talk about that part too as well. Yes, you invested time, but also you were willing to invest financially with monetary means to get the wise counsel that you need. We don't have to talk numbers or nothing like that, but
Right.
share the importance of being willing to delegate and being willing to invest in yourself to get this project done.
And that's a really good point. You know, not all of us have the funding to do so, but what's your time worth, right? So if you're going to spend all that time, like you said, takes you a year, 2 years, 3 years, how much of your time, to spend doing that versus something else that may be more productive? And so I was procrastinating on this project for some years. And, it was my wife that said, I want to invest in you. You've been investing in some startup businesses that will never see a penny. Stop doing that, and let's invest the money in you. And to me, this is something important, that I felt had to get out there. And if I waited 2 years or 3 years, well, that's 2 or 3 years that all this great feedback and accolades that people are telling me how this has been life changing to read this book, whether they were in college or mid-career or later in their life. I would have been not helping people but hurting people. So thankfully I said, hey, it's important to spend the dollars and go ahead and interview a lot of different firms and people. There's so many different options out there, but get that intelligence, take that time, don't procrastinate, and make the investment. It's worth it. And I'm one that doesn't like to part with money, right? So I would like things for free. That's not really going to happen. But this is something that I did not for making money necessarily, but for helping others. And I'm glad we expedited the process.
Awesome. Hearing that, Larry, what you sharing that detail about the investing part of time and money, I always share with people, those are the two main pillars for us getting the book done. Time and money. You heard Larry share about if he was driving, taking advantage of that commute instead of whining and saying, oh, by the time I do the commute and by the time I work and have some appointments, I don't have any time to do it. No, he utilized that time to be able to maximize it by not just being in the commute, that was his recording time. Or if he had an aha moment or epiphany, he was able to write it down and actually not just write it down, but actually send it to the person who he was working with. I know it seems like that's common sense, but my grandmother shared that, rest in peace, that, common sense isn't so common, Darren. So I'm realizing that as I continue to live or whatnot, even with myself, most importantly. But understanding time and the monetary means is important. Or if you want to do it right, at least you can save or take the necessary steps that you need to get experts. If I'm trying to overhaul an engine, I've never done that before. So why would I waste years? What would my family do if our vehicles are all down because they're waiting on me to be able to learn how to overhaul an engine, and the opportunity that you missed to impact their life? And that's what Larry brought up to us. And for those business owners and leaders who are listening to this episode, think about the leverage of what the book can do. Instead of worrying about a funnel, instead of worrying about Facebook or ad spends or whatnot, what about that book that's laying on someone's desk and someone pick it up? Or you're in the airport, or back when we could travel, if you're traveling and you're in first class or wherever you're sitting at, and you're sitting there and someone's like, hey, what you're reading? Now you had somebody that doesn't even work for you who's actually sent you a referral or got you a connect with something that could be beneficial with your nonprofit or for-profit business that could allow for you to go to the next level because you took time to create the book. So people know you before they know you. And so keep that in mind too, as well, with the B squared method, the book to business method, how the book can be working for you, even when you sleep, even in another country, even in another state, that it can be beneficial. Now, Larry, it's one thing to create the content. It's one thing to send the audio files to the individuals that you're working with the firm, but take us down that road, Larry, where you got it done. Now you're holding the book in your hand. You're able to look into your wife's eyes and you were able to do it. What was that experience like, Larry?
Well, it was really amazing. It's something that, when I'm not here, I talk about legacy. When I'm gone, this is still here, and I've named my wife more than once in the book. So I protected myself, and my kids, my children are mentioned in there. and even a story about my son. And so for me, it's that legacy that I have now. If something happens, I've got that book that's out there and that will keep living beyond, my life here on this earth. And just that sense of accomplishment to have that book and have something that I can give to others, just it's amazing. And every day it's a gift. And when I receive a message, or hey, this book was great, or someone sent me an image, they purchased 10 books to give to other people, because in my book I talk about paying it forward. And so it's just been an awesome feeling and accomplishment. And I'm glad, Darren, that it didn't take me 2 or 3 years, that I did delegate and outsourced and created an efficient process.
Now, Larry, how can the people connect with you? Because I don't want, when we're talking about giving and paying it forward, I don't want to get a whipping or whatnot, or as we say in Texas, a good old whooping, excuse my Southern vernacular. But at the same time, I want you just to share with us, how can they connect with you far as getting a copy of the book, if you have any social media handles or whatnot, even website information about the services you do, please share that information right now if you don't mind.
Thank you very much. So, one great place, if you see on this conversation today, I'm LinkedIn Larry. So I am on LinkedIn. So I'm on LinkedIn as Larry Kaufman. Find me, connect with me on LinkedIn. And there's all types of information and thought leadership around my book and other topics right there. On Amazon, it's in Kindle format and paperback. So look up Larry Kaufman on Amazon, the NCG Factor, and those are the best places to find me and get access to me in the book.
Awesome, awesome. Larry, I thank you so much for coming on. I'm actually going to get a few copies myself to pay it for, and I'm going to get me one first. I got to be honest. I want to be totally transparent. But then at the same time, for those who reach out to us, if you see this episode, we're going to have a few of the books. So if you reach out and screenshot us and share that you follow Larry on all his social media platforms, if you email us or send us a screenshot to the company, we'll put you in a raffle to be able to send the book out to you as well. So make sure that you go and follow Larry on those platforms. We're going to have the information in the show notes. So we don't want any excuses talking about, well, I couldn't find it. We're going to make sure we have the information in the show notes. So for all of you who are listening into this, go follow Larry, connect with them, screenshot that you followed him or whatnot. And we are ordering copies to be able to pay it forward or whatnot to those who are listening to this show or whatnot, and they can benefit from the materials that Larry is sharing with us. Before we close it out, Larry, and I'm grateful for your time. Nothing but gratitude here for you taking time out your busy schedule to do this interview. But speak to that person out there, Larry, who's saying, well, it makes sense because Darren, the stuff that you're doing, it makes sense. I'm hearing Larry's, got all these accolades, man, wonderful family. It makes sense for a guy like that to write a book, but I have a story that I want to share. But, I'm not Larry Kaufman. I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not Carlos Slim in Mexico. I'm not Tyler Perry. But I want to share my story. Could you share with that person who's straddling the fence, Larry, why it's important for them to share their story with the world?
Well, I think the ordinary to the extraordinary, if they have a story, you need to share it and commit to it and do it. Now, granted, my wife pushed me over the edge, and sometimes you just have to be driven to say, I just want to do it. And you see all types of people writing books in many ways to get it done. But, you have to commit to your dream and make it reality. Stop procrastinating from a guy who did. So learn from me, just do it. And I'm so glad I did it. And if I can help you, reach out to me, ask me for help or questions on LinkedIn. And I'm thrilled to help you through that process, but just do it, right, Darren? Just do it.
Yes, sir. I totally agree with you, Larry. Just do it. Nike told us best to just do it. And so we're following the wise advice of Nike and Larry Kaufman today or whatnot. Sir, I thank you for what all you're doing, Larry. I really mean that, because in a time where it's so many people that are hurting and it's some information that's misleading out in the industry, in the marketplace. So for you to get out there or whatnot and give us light and give us hope on the right way to do things, and you can still be successful at this and help people at the same time. I think it's just, truly a wonderful light for all of us to see that, hey, I don't have to be a jerk. I don't have to rob. I don't have to belittle someone. We can actually collaborate instead of compete against each other. We have creativity and we can work. We're better together because it's people who can benefit from your services, Larry. Then there are people that can benefit from mine. It's over 7.5 or 6 billion people in the world. So, I mean, it's enough oxygen for us all. So it's enough business and ways that we can serve people for all of us. So I think that you embody all that with the work that you're doing, Larry, and making a place a better place by you doing what you were called to do. So thank you again, sir, for coming on to the Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you for helping others. And, 5 words we should all ask every day. How can I help you? Darren, how can I help you, Darren?
See, that's why he is the man. Larry Kaufman, well, we thank you, sir, for coming on. For those who are listening for this show, remember that this is the year for your new book. Until next time, if you won't change, be the change, be blessed, and be great.